Thank you so much, Mac, for joining us on the show today.
Always good to have me. Always good to be here. Thanks for having me. Sorry.
It's a pleasure every time to have you on the show. So let's feel the pulse. Football fans can expect a tightly contested match filled with drama, skill and determinations as both teams, Mamelodi Sundowns and Wydad Casablanca, will have to vie for that prestigious African Football League trophy. What do you anticipate, Mac, ahead of this encounter?
Absolutely. I think you've summed it up. I think drama. I think there's a lot at stake with the prize money. I forget the dollar amount in South Africa. It's 75 million rand. It's huge for this first prize. There's pride at stake. This competition is the brainchild of the FIFA president and the CAF president, and the CAF president happens to also own Mamelodi Sundowns. So I think a little bit of pride there, even though he stepped aside during his term as CAF president and let his son run the club, Tlopi Motsepe. I anticipate a really tight game, really close. And it's tough. I think for Sundowns, they beat Al Ahly in the semis, so they certainly will feel they can beat anyone. But they know Wydad have been the team every Champions League when Sundowns, they won it in 2016. Since then, almost every time they get knocked out of the Champions League, it's been Wydad that stood in their way and just been that little bit stronger. Also in the last Champions League last year in 2022-23, Sundowns reached the semi-finals, played Wydad. They had 1-1 from away. They were 2-1 up with moments to go. Mutobi and Vala, a Sundowns player, scored their own goal and they went out on away goals. So it's just been that Wydad thing that they just can't get past, and they'll like to break that. They'd especially like to break that in this inaugural African Football League for such a huge prize money in the competition. That's the brainchild of the man who owns the club.
All right, when you talk about the money, I've got a smile on my face because its team will be going home smiling to the bank because of that huge prize money that is at stake for those who will lift the trophy for this inaugural edition. But let's go by the stats right now, Mac. Overall, we've got Wydad and Sundowns. They have clashed 8 times since the first meeting in September 2017. Wydad have got an edge, having recorded 4 victories compared to Mamelodi Sundowns, who has just got 2 wins, while 2 games ended in a draw between both sides. Mamelodi Sundowns have got a very, very prolific goalkeeper in the person of Robin Williams, and he has been spectacular all through this competition. Who do you think will have the upper hand today? Because both sides have conceded less goals in this competition.
Absolutely. I think it's a bit of a mental thing with Sundowns, with Wydad. They know they've struggled to beat them. But I guess Sundowns, the way they'll look at it, and especially with a young coach like Rulani, who's bringing a bit of a new philosophy to the team, the way they'll try to look at it is last year it was so close. It was a matter of minutes. And again, they ended up on the losing side, but it was away goals. It was an own goal right at the end. Certainly tonight in Casablanca, is it Marrakesh? I forget. It's going to be very much about Sundowns going there and trying to come away with a result that leaves them something for the second leg. I think you saw against Al Ahly, they only had a 1-0 lead from the first leg. And to go to Cairo and protect that, it took a really good performance, took a little bit of riding of the luck. It always does. Ronwin at one stage spilt a ball and Karaba hit the post. But in the second half, Sundowns really tightened up and they limited Al Ahly to not 1 chance at goal, which is, they had half chances here and there. And to do that in Cairo in front of 50-odd thousand people in Cairo International Stadium takes tremendous discipline, and it was a really disciplined performance. They snuffed out Al Ahly. The thing is, though, Sundowns generally have had a better record against Al Ahly in continental football, especially in the Champions League, than they have against Wydad. Wydad, they've struggled. Everyone knows Wydad's got more pedigree. They've got more recent titles. They won in 2017. They were runners-up last year in the Champions League. They They won it the year before. They've reached the semis twice in those last since 2017. Sundowns have won it in 26, won the Champions League in 2016. They reach the semis, they reach the quarters, and then when they get there, it's very often Wydad that kicks them out. I think for Sundowns, this is huge. They really want to try to break this hold that Wydad has on them, and they will see this as a great platform to do it. The other thing is Sundowns haven't reached the final again after winning the Champions League in 2016. They keep getting to the quarters and the semis, and they get knocked out. This is their first final again since 2016, so I think the motivation is huge. But we know Moroccan football is at an all-time high right now. We saw that in the last World Cup. We know Wydad's record, so it's really tough for Sundowns. But they certainly showed, I think, in the AFL semis with their performance against Al Ahly. I think they showed last year in the Champions League semis where they ran Wydad so close. They can certainly be competitive in this final. I think it's going to be extremely tight. If Sundowns can come away with a 0-0 or even a 1-0 defeat from tonight in North Africa, when they come back on next Sunday, to Pretoria, it's going to be a heck of a good game, and it's going to be really interesting to see who can win that. But it's very tight. I think there's no illusions in South Africa that Sundowns are going to have a tough match against Wydad. We all know how tough Wydad are.
Okay, let's talk about the fans here. They will be at the receiving end for whatever that will go down on the pitch today. The Moroccans have shown that they've got a strong edge at home. They are exceptional at home. They have not lost in the last 3 home games and would definitely put up a show in this match today, especially with the championship at stake. Coach Mokwane Rulani did say that during his pre-match, says he's going to downplay the power of the Moroccan fans. How do you think they will be able to go through this encounter on home turf against Wydad Casablanca? We know the Moroccan fans, they come with the lasers, they come with the flares whenever they have a competition, even at home ground, not to talk of this rivalry between Mamelodi Sundowns from South Africa and Wydad from their home turf.
No, absolutely. The supporters in North Africa, I've attended a few matches following Sundowns and following Orlando Pirates in the Champions League. And I haven't actually watched a Moroccan club football match. I haven't been to a Wydad match, but certainly I've been to Al Ahly. And
Marc, you should watch them. You should see the atmosphere filled with the red flares, the lasers all around. Yeah. I'm very sure you're bringing that in today.
No, absolutely. And having watched games in Egypt where it's very similar, I absolutely. Just the chanting, the noise level. They're possibly some of the most vociferous fans in the world.
Yeah.
Actually, and quite one of the most hostile atmospheres. And I think this is a big reason, apart from the resources that North Africa has and the closeness to Europe. I think and the strength of the football and the strength of their domestic football and their leagues, which I think is one of the biggest reasons why North Africans dominate club continental football in Africa. The crowds are another factor. Absolutely, they're huge. Look, I think Sundowns are pretty well traveled. They compete every single season in the Champions League group stage. They compete every single season. I think bar one since 2016 that they've been through to the quarters or the semis. They've played North Africans a lot. They have a lot of experience of playing in those conditions. And they certainly showed in the semi-final against Al Ahly in similar conditions, although it is Stade V that they're playing in, of course, in Casablanca. Stade Mohammed V is one of the more notorious venues.
Yes, it is.
but it's somewhere Sundowns know quite well. So if there's any team conditioned for it, I would say Sundowns are fairly well conditioned. But that doesn't always help. It is such a factor that 12th man, the North African crowd, and certainly Wydad's crowd and their supporters who are fanatical. And having been in a Champions League final for Pirates against Al Ahly in 2013 at the Arab Contractors Stadium in Cairo, I've never seen a crowd like that. It was, and also being at the Champions League final in 2016, the Zamalek fans in Burj Al Arab in Alexandria. the North Africans, there's something about that crowd, the lasers, the noise, the chanting. It's exceptionally intimidating. But I do think Sundowns are fairly well equipped, having been experienced in the last 5 years, 6, 7 years, actually 8 years that they've been competing at the top level in the Champions League. That they're pretty well conditioned. But it's still a factor, of course. And that's why I say I think if they can come away with a 0-0 or even a 1-0 defeat, if they can snatch a 1-0 win by some kind of, getting a breakaway goal, then it's really game on for Sundowns. But if they can come away with a 0-0 or 1-0 in those conditions that starred Mohamed V, I think they've done well.
Okay, we'll see if they will do well against Wydad Casablanca at home today for the first leg of the African Football League. If Wydad think that they've got some erotic fan, they should check out Mamelodi Sundowns fans. They go crazy too with football. Thank you so much, Marc Strydom, for joining us today on the show. We do appreciate your analysis on the show. But let's put you on the sport a bit. Let's get your prediction for the first leg.
If you take Wydad's record against Sundowns, as you were saying, I would say Wydad will win it by a goal over the 2 legs. That would be my sensible thinking.
Wydad, the same Wydad that nearly escaped into the semi-final in the hands of AS Tunis. They went by penalty shootout, and it was just one difference in the penalty. You think you still got confidence in them?
So sensibly thinking, I would say Wydad will win it by a goal, but my heart tells me Sundowns are, and the way they played in the semi-final against Al Ahly, I do think Sundowns have got a chance. So, okay, let me go with my heart and say Sundowns are going to win it by a 1-goal margin. I can't tell you the exact scoreline, but over the aggregate, let me call it for Sundowns.
Okay, that's great to be on the fence right now between both sides because everyone will come for you, Marc. Thank you so much. Time that our friend, we have to let you go this time. Thank you so much for joining us on In the Game.
Always a pleasure. I always enjoy it. Thank you.